Hey guys, I think it's mentioned really briefly in some of my recent podcasts, but I have no idea what I'm doing with my own future in terms of education and career. And I mean, I might as well just say that to people on Patreon because some of you might know more about this than I do. And at the moment, I'm not getting any useful replies by email from my own university professors back in Canada. Some of whom have been very supportive toward me, some of whom have been appreciative towards me, some of whom regard me as quite brilliant. Whether or not they can provide me with useful guidance or advice, sadly, is another matter. My point being, they may want to provide me with guidance, but may be unable to do so. I was just reflecting on this actually because Vegan Gains has this new video titled Why I Dropped Out of School. And I was just asking myself, because it's such a common thing to say. It's so common to say to people, oh, you should get a university degree. Oh, you should go back to school. You should go back to university. And I have never said that to Richard. And I was just pausing and ask, why? Now, of course, partly, I could say something snarky like, oh, it's because I'm not an idiot. Like only an idiot would just say to Richard offhand, he should go back to university or something. But I mean, I'm Canadian. Richard is Canadian. I have had an incredibly negative experience with Canadian education system at every level, but especially at the university level. Although high school was bad in Canada, university was actually much worse. Really, 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 that was a step down. Shockingly so. Deeply demoralizing how much worse university was than high school. So at a generalized level, I'm not someone who would easily or casually say, oh, you should go to university in Canada. And look, some of you guys will not realize how deep or significant this is. But, I made the decision that my own daughter will never go to school in Canada, that my daughter will not become a Canadian citizen. It is not a decision you take lightly. And that is in large part, it's for many reasons, but it is in large part because the university system in Canada is so terrible. The education system as a whole in Canada, I believe, is really so poor that I would prefer for my daughter to go to school basically anywhere else. Quite likely she will go to university in Europe or go to school at all levels in Europe as a result of that decision I made. Obviously, Europe contains some of the best and some of the worst education in the world, but for me, from my perspective, at least there's hope in Europe, and in Canada there is none. So look, that's general background, but I mean the specific thing is I would never say to Richard, oh, you should go to university, in the same sense that I would never say to Richard, oh, you should open your own business. Sometimes you're talking about something and it's so vague it becomes meaningless. Even if it has a good intention behind it, the advice is bullshit because what business? I mean, maybe Richard should open a business, a particular business, but it has to be something specific, right? You can't say if it's a good or bad idea to open a business, any business whatsoever. In the same way, to say to somebody like me or Richard or what have you, oh, you should go back to university, you do well. Well, what university and what university program and what credential and what career? And I do not know of any specific university in Canada that is good. I do not know of any specific university program that is good. I do not know of any specific university program that would be good for Richard. And I've got to say also, this does not mean that they're all bad. I never studied architecture. It's possible somewhere in Canada there's a wonderful architecture program. It's possible even something like cuisine, cooking, becoming a chef. I did look into that at one point because I thought about opening my own vegan restaurant, getting a formal university credential in cuisine. It's possible we have one or two good programs of that kind in Canada. But as far as I know, I don't know anything positive in the whole country. So that's that general background. Right now, my view for my own future is that I'm going to go back to university and get an MPA, a Master's of Public Administration, an incredibly boring university degree, a degree I don't want, a degree I'm not going to enjoy learning. I'm not going to enjoy the process of earning the degree. I may learn nothing. I don't know. Whether or not I learn a lot or learn a little, I don't know at this stage. And I remember, I have this memory stuck in my mind, I scoffed at the idea of getting an MPA when there was the woman with a very low-level job at my university. She was in an advisor's office, And she said, look, with real delight, with a real sincere smile on her face, she looked at my resume, she looked at my CV, and she said to me, "Oh, you could get an MPA, you get a master's in public administration, and then you could get a job like me." She said it for herself. I could get the same job. I forget the word. She said I could get exactly the same job she has, being a low-level bureaucrat in university. I have never wanted to get an MPA. Wanting doesn't even come into it. I mean, at this point, God, it's so bleak. It's so depressing talking about education and career options in Canada, given that I'm a prisoner of my passport, et cetera, et cetera. It's really, really bleak. But I put it to you guys now because when I asked my professors about this, maybe I'll post as text in Patreon below this video. I'll give an example of me writing to my professors still now. It's like I have these professors who say I'm brilliant and talented. And obviously, compared to other students getting a bachelor's degree, I'm at an incredibly advanced level in terms of knowledge of history and politics of Asia and what have you. And to some extent, languages. I mean, I have some advantages in study of languages, but also some disadvantages, God knows, because I've studied too many different languages. But I don't know. I have never had anyone say to me, and I've asked again and again for this advice, I've never had anyone say to me, this is a good MA program anywhere in Canada for any topic connected to my expertise, ever. I've never heard anyone say this is a good MPA, public administration specifically, ever. All right? And I've been seeking that kind of guidance for such a long time. Why now does MPA as an option become a lot less laughable, a lot less ridiculous? Basically, for two reasons. One is MPA can link to paid employment that is relevant to my humanitarian interests. For example, my political interest in the future of First Nations peoples, the Cree and Ojibwe. There are a lot of jobs for bureaucrats, basically, or people in the nonprofit sector trying to improve the situation for the Cree, the Ojibwe, and many other First Nations people. That kind of credential could probably connect to employment that makes the world a little bit of a better place somewhere in Canada, that kind. I guess, too, I don't know. It seems very hard for me to believe I'll ever become a police officer in Canada, but my ability in Chinese... I'm working so hard to learn Chinese, but there's nothing I can do with Chinese as a language in terms of my career or education, which is extremely depressing. I should be able to come back from Canada speaking Chinese, reading and writing Chinese, and have some kind of bright future in front of me, or some kind of not too dim, not too dark future open in front of me. At least a master's diploma or something. At least some career path open to me. But there is absolutely nothing open to me. Again, because I'm a prisoner of passport, because I'm a Canadian citizen. If I were German, it would be different. If I were French, it would be different. If I were American, it would be different. But because I'm Canadian, there's nothing open to me. And again, I've sat down with the professors and counselors and so on in Canada. But yeah, if I went into police work, I guess a master's of public administration could also make me upwardly mobile in the police. I guess I could become a police officer in Canada who speaks Chinese, who interrogates people in Chinese sometimes, or uses Chinese as part of my job. And again, that is still, for me, the police work is part of the ethic of public service. It's the humanitarian side of my interest in life, although I know a lot of you will not see it that way. A lot of the anarchists in my comment section will not see it that way. Ultimately, I do think that what I would learn in public administration in Canada would help me take on a management role, leadership role, bureaucratic role in running a vegan foundation, incorporating some kind of charity, some kind of NGO connected to veganism. And, whether or not that's a dream, I'll never be able to accomplish, that still is, it's a dream worth dreaming. It's a dream worth laying the groundwork for. Being able to do your own taxes and paperwork and really run your own NGO because you've got a public administration background or your own nonprofit of some kind, however it's incorporated, however it's whatever its status is on paper. That opens that door. That's a door I want to keep open. Whether it happens when I'm 65 or 75, it's certainly a door I'd want to keep open until the day I die. So, guys, my email is not hard to find. If any of you actually have useful advice on this, I am seeking advice. As a Canadian citizen, I need to know about master's degree options and MPA options, Master of Public Administration options, or anything like that you guys could recommend. If you email me, I mean, I can share my resume, but whatever. First degree is in political science. My second degree, which is fresh, so I will have letters of recommendation from professors who are still alive and still know me, is in Asian studies. I'm in China now learning Chinese. I have a background in a long list of other languages, including Cree, Ojibwe, Japanese, Cambodian, Lao, Pali, Thai. It's ridiculous. So many years lost in language work. And I do actually have a couple of peer-reviewed publications. I do have this history of a scholar and researcher in other fields. And for me, it's all balled up and thrown into the garbage because I'm a Canadian citizen. I'm a prisoner of my passport. And for years, I've been looking for any positive opportunity in terms of education and career. And I have found nothing.